So, yeah, so you said basically, yeah, that's a busy schedule. That's what actually keeps us a little bit, challenging and, difficult to maneuver, our lifestyles and then food.
And that's
Good. Yeah.
let me turn on some light here. Hold on.
I think oh, yeah. Well, look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. Alrighty. Well, that looks pretty fantastic, sir. Pretty refreshing. Okay. So here we are. So welcome back again. I know it's been what? Gosh, time flies. It's already been in a couple of months. But I think we learned a lot, especially what we learned in the past couple of weeks is more significant than 2, 3 months ago. Excuse me. So, like I said, the purpose of the call is to hear, what inspired you to kind of join the program, like many of our patients, and then what kind of difference it's making, so that we can inspire others. So with that, let's Mr. Reyes, if you can take me back, let's kind of think back. How long have you been diabetic for, and then what kind of course or the journey has it been before you even heard about our program?
Okay. Well, first of all, I have been a diabetic, give or take about 10 years.
Mhm.
So for the first several years, doctor, frankly, I was not paying much attention to the diagnosis. I was not feeling really bad. In the evenings, I would get fatigued that after work, and I worked many hours. And so I kind of attributed to maybe I was working too hard combined with me aging. But in time, I kind of felt like I needed to go check myself out. So I went to a doctor. They diagnosed me pre-diabetic and then diabetic over time. And so for the first several years, I was noticing that my sugar levels, yeah, would be up, but then they would come down. And so I attribute that maybe that my body was still, somehow processing my sugar levels. Maybe my insulin resistance was not as bad. Over the course of time, things became worse. Uh, I will tell you something that is very relevant to you in particular, and that is that I went to many doctors, and every time that I had a doctor, I kind of felt not being paid attention to. I felt like I was just running through a meal. I'd be seen for 5 minutes. They would do lab work on me, and they'd give me the readings. I never felt like they explained it to me. I had several misunderstandings with doctors because I would explain that I did not understand the lab results, and some doctors would get upset at me by saying you should know all these things, and maybe I should. I just didn't know the resources and how to inform myself. So the last doctor I went to was right here close to my house. I had read that he was a more progressive kind of Eastern medicine type doctor that would try to assess you, and with food and exercise might help. And over the course of time, about a year and a half, 2 years with him, the same thing. He would walk in and tell me and then leave. And I actually had better communication with his physician assistant. I felt like she would be more caring and spend more time with me. Uh, and then I saw you on a Facebook advertisement, uh, and it's pretty quick, but I discerned that you were a type of doctor that would try to pay attention to clients, what their intake is, what they ate, and how that might could help. So that's how I wound up at your office, doctor.
Excellent, excellent. No, I think Well, unfortunately, that's not an uncommon story. In other words, of course, every patient is unique. We all have different stories and paths, but and then it was that caught my attention. I think it doesn't mean that we do to treat differently, but everyone is same on our program. But some patients have very complicated, physiology. Sometimes the condition. Um, Majority, 80% of the patients are actually bread and butter. It's pretty easy, meaning, without even, digging anything deeper. We, physicians all, we just go to our, kind of level one, level two medications, and we think, things would turn around. And we don't even look into the details. But I think quickly I realized that your situation is something definitely different. What made us even more inspired to kind of work with you is you already came in with your unfortunately negative experience with many physicians, and I honestly I'm one of them in the sense, I'm a traditional practitioner, like I said, with the university for past 15, 20 years. So excuse me. So I know how traditional process works. So I hate to blame any individual physician or practitioners, but that's how the system is. We see a lot of patients in a very brief period of time, so we don't have time to personalize anything. Forget about their detailed intake and lifestyle metrics. And that's why, we started our program as well. But I think I'm glad, kind of we were able to dig deeper. We'll get into that in a minute, but okay, so that's where you are. And then kind of what kind of medications did they put you on, and did they help you, or and when you came on to our program, what kind of insight you had that this is something different or might actually change the course of my disease?
Well, let me get back to about a year and a half, maybe even two. All of a sudden, my sugar levels went real high, in excess of 250,
Hmm.
uh, and up to 300s. When I got to you, that's where I was, in the 300s, 350
Right.
to say maybe 250, and I just couldn't control it. The medication I was put on by my previous doctor was metformin, and then of course I take high blood pressure medication. I also take for cholesterol, and so basically those were the main uh, medications that I was taking to address the diabetes. And in reading and understanding and talking to you, I understand that they are all interrelated. That blood pressure is affected by diabetic conditions, and so you control one and you start controlling others. So when I came to you and you all trained me on, the benefits of eating plant-based food, and I made that transition, it was quite difficult, doctor, because it was all new to me. I would not even know where to go buy the kind of food that I needed to be eating. But with you and your staff, and the recommended foods to go and buy and eat, gradually I've become very familiar with HEB, with Walmart, with Sprouts, with Whole Foods. Now I
Yeah.
know those stores really, really well. Now I know what to eat. I made that change, and I have noticed a lot of difference. Though my sugar levels continued high, uh, I really was feeling better. My weight control has been really great. That's something that's really important to me. I don't like to be overweight. I know, don't definitely not obese, but because those are things that are important to me as a
Excellent.
person.
Yep.
So
So
yeah.
in other words, when it comes to food, I think it's kind of it's we have come, we're in a different age and time. Unfortunately, the food has become the true natural food that is health promoting food has become extinct and foreign to us. And what we are surrounded by is completely, modified, processed food. That's where the trouble come from. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that. You begin to kind of explore the grocery stores and then the food, even though it looks like it's I'm changing. That's what we tell every single one of our patients. So we are actually not changing our diet or food. We are going back to how we are supposed to be eating. Because we live in a different land, it looks like our home looks foreign to us. So, and if you put it in a metaphorical way, but okay, so over time that was a struggle, 200 and 300, and I'm pretty sure it affected your quality of work because you're a very, very busy person with needs a lot of intellectual, focus and attention, dealing with a very complicated, work environment and clients. How was your focus and attention, and then your productivity before, and then how are you seeing what kind of a transition or the change that you're seeing lately?
Well, there's been a drastic change from the times that my sugar levels were high. I always felt lethargic.
Mhm.
I'm a golfer. I
Mhm.
play golf as much as I can. And so even when I went to play golf and I just would walk up to the tee box and hit the ball and then go walking towards the ball, I always felt like I was walking as a zombie. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, confused, not clear. Even my gait, my walking was a little off, I could tell. And so all of those things really concerned me, and I just didn't know what to do. I will tell you that in the last 6 months, gradually, I have been feeling stronger. I've been feeling more clear in mind. My speech, what I say, is
Mhm.
mostly what I'm thinking. Whereas before, I would say things that I would think, what the hell did I say that for? It's just my mind wasn't processing well and it was not
Mhm.
verbalizing well. I feel more articulate, more like I was in my 40s, 30s. And so, as you know, I'm a lawyer. So my job is to think and then speak in front of people. And so it's important for me to be articulate, important to convey my thoughts in a way that I want it to be, which is to reflect what my argument is. And so I feel a lot better there, Doctor.
Makes sense. I think, yeah, yeah, there's a lot of intellectual tool, and then the challenge that you take up in your profession. So it's very important to be very sharp and clear. And not only that, I think you need to be creative as well because the kind of profession you're in, it's not just a straightforward, simple storytelling. You need to make a case and kind of complexly surface the hidden truth, whatnot. Excuse me. So with that, so that was the story. The 200-300s were actually making you feel like a zombie, and then you're not thinking clear, and even the gait and speech were actually affected. And then I think talking to you today, I think I can see the focus and then clarity and then articulated speech that you're having today. That's fantastic. What are the numbers most recently? We will just yeah, kind of almost going to be wrapping up. But what are the numbers that you're seeing in the past week or so? And then how do those numbers make you feel different about yourself? Meaning your self-esteem, your confidence, and the hope. How were you before, and then how hopeful and positive that you're looking at yourself, and then the possibilities down the road.
Well, I'm going to explore one way to continue somehow there with you, although my 6 months are coming up. Uh, why is because I've got to hand it to you, Doctor. You personally, your staff, I feel you care. And not only is it a front, I mean, I see it, I feel it. The time and devotion, just today on a Saturday that you're here, yesterday in my car traveling from Eagle Pass to San Antonio, you call me, you text me. I mean, all of those things is very apparent to me that you care. To me, in my life, it's all about the why. Why am I a doctor? Why am I a lawyer? And if the reason for that is you want to be of help, given the profession that you have, uh, is real important. And with you and your staff, it's very apparent that you want to help people. I truly believe that more people should have exposure to what you do, what your clinic does, because of the attention, and with the attention and the devotion, you all have made me come down to, the 100s when I was in the 2 and 300s. I hadn't seen that in many years. And not only that, the effects of being in the 100 levels, makes me feel younger, fresher, clearer. And so I hope that you reach more other people. I'm encouraging my friends and families to look you up, doctor. Uh, I just can't say enough about the attention that you all give your
Excellent,
patients.
excellent. Well, glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. In other words, that's one of the missions and then the purposes of the clinic, because one of the challenges we have in our traditional system, as I say, I am one of the traditional practitioners, with the corporate system, led a huge service line, as I always say. We see about 300 to 400 patients a day in the clinics that I supervised. And then I chose to kind of change the career path, because even though we see thousands and thousands of patients, it's the system that makes us, better or more efficient. You can take any industry, right? It's the processes and then the system. It's not the individual trying to kind of do that. And that's what we try to put in place. We need metrics. We need tools. It could be your weight, your blood pressure, your glucose monitor, and the communication tools. So I'm glad to hear that, because what we try to do is we want to do the most impact in this, 3, 4, 5, 6 months beyond what a traditional practice, physician, even I myself, can do in 6 or 16 years. That's why people are actually still struggling after 15, 20 years, losing the hope that this is unbeatable monster diabetes, that no one can help me, because the secret of success lies in those micro moments. And if you're not helping the patients on those day-to-day, week-to-week basis, we would never make that shift. I think, I'm glad to hear that. I think our tools, our system are, working for you, and then getting the results. And as you know, this is just a Kickstarter, because once you realize and discover how your body is operating, um, it's like driving the best luxury car in the world. But what good is it going to do if your glasses are actually hazy, if your windshield is all misty? You can't blame the car, because you don't have the visibility to look through the windscreen. So you can't blame the car. That's exactly what I say. Our bodies actually know how to be in a good shape, but we lost the sight of care for them. So the kind of nutrition change and exercise, you're a very active person, but the strength training is what we motivate on as well. It adds up. Every little change that you're introducing, when your body listens to you and then change, pays back in the form of better sugars and clarity, because that's where the internal motivation comes from. It's not like what is good, what is bad. I have to experience it, and only then I can be more inclined to continue my positive behavior. So fantastic. Well, thank you. We appreciate your time and everything. And then finally, as we wrap up, and your journey continues, by the way, we're seeing a major shift in your course halfway through our program right now. But Mr. Ruiz, so what do you want to say people who are on the fence, like, might be, recently diagnosed with diabetes, or maybe for 10, 15 years, who are kind of hesitating to pursue this kind of care? What do you want to say? Is it worthy, and what kind of tools and things can help them, defeat their diabetes?
Number one, I've got to tell you once again, to trust a doctor is superb. Unfortunately, because of the system, the way that it works, having a doctor consultation for 5 minutes does not instill in people, the common folk, the trust that the doctor is carefully watching what's going on with your body, carefully addressing the problems that the patient is having. And so I want to tell everyone that they ought to consider reviewing what you do, what your clinic does, what Eva, your nutritionist, what Tina, the person that you have there that's so helpful as well, all kind people. And kindness, doctor, goes a long ways. I'm a true believer of loving humans, um, and you all demonstrate that. So last thing is getting on a plant-based diet is so crucial and so unknown. It is not well known, I can tell you, because I've read and read and read and read and read, and I never had come across that until recently when I met you all. And then I engaged in what you told me, and I see it paying off. Um, I didn't tell you this, I haven't told you this, but I am now no longer on Pentrosol. I don't, for GERD, I don't take that medication anymore. And I think it has to do with the fact that I'm now eating less meat products, fats, with all this products of plant-based chicken, plant-based meats. I mean, they taste the same. You can dress them up really nice. It's no sacrifice at all, but you don't know until you know. And I think that there's a lot of unknowns, Doctor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you. Good to hear that. Good to hear that. And then we wish you the best for, I think, more leaps on your journey. We're here. We're here to kind of help you out. And I appreciate your time today, Mr. Ruiz. So we'll see you back in the clinic maybe in next week or so. I think whenever our schedule is, next appointment is scheduled. But have a good day. I know it's going to stay warm. This is going to be, I don't know, maybe a couple of more days. It's going to be cold and, cloudy, but drive safe, and then we'll see you around.
Okay, doctor. Keep doing the right thing, doctor. You are on the right track. Thank you.
Thank you much. Appreciate it.